said he could give me a refund if I made an appointment.
You're not on my appointment list, and you don't have a receipt. I don't even think we carry that version anymore.
Listen, I don't need a new model, store credits, or anything. I just want my money back.
There's nothing I can do without a sales record of some kind.
I can go get the warranty book from my car.
I'm afraid I can't help you.
But your manager said you could give me a refund if I made an appointment.
Okay, so we've heard it loop back around now, but for what it's worth, this is Refund Guy. Refund Guy, who existed in Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2, and now Mass Effect 3. For 3 games, this guy has been trying to get this very refund right here, right now. And has been unsuccessful thus far over the course of what is in-game, what, like 3 or 4 years? So, I mean, we've got to support him, right? We can't do anything else. There's no way we're letting him down. Refund Guy, we got your back. Don't worry, man.
Look, he's not gonna leave. The sooner you refund him, the sooner you go home.
Yeah, you're right. Let's get this over with. Here, I sent you a full refund.
Really?
Yes.
You mean it?
Of course I do.
A full refund?
Yes, congratulations. The whole 15 credits.
Oh, wow.
Hey, thanks.
And there you might have caught it as well. The refund that he was fighting for 3+ years for, 15 credits. Yeah. Well, so that's what he was trying to do that entire time. Again, he's in the upper markets in Mass Effect 1. He is in, what, the lower area in Mass Effect 2, right by the, I forget what it's called, but the area where there's sort of that, where you go for Garrus's loyalty mission on the Citadel, that sort of backroom area on the bottom floor. So, yeah. And now he's here. You have the option of supporting him, and you got to, right? You got to. A few more shops. Agor Munitions.
Welcome to Agor Munitions.
Ooh. Ooh. So the Venom Shotgun is also really good. The Venom Shotgun was developed by the Solarian Special Task Group to meet the unpredictable needs of those stationed in hostile areas. The double barrel fires ammunition that detonates on impact, kind of similar to the Acolyte, while a third barrel below can be charged to fire a round of micro grenades. Given the covert nature of most STG assignments, the Venom was designed to force an exit strategy and was issued to teams whose primary objective was to extract compromised undercover operatives. Shotgun is now issued to frontline soldiers in the war against the Reapers. Basically, it shoots a little grenade. In this case, you know, it's actually like basically a grenade, and has an explosion. It's kind of similar to the Acolyte in that sense, except it just does probably higher, perhaps a fair bit higher base damage. Doesn't have the huge multiplier for shields or barriers, but it also has really good stunning ability. So, it can be good for getting yourself out of sticky situations where you get overwhelmed, surrounded by enemies, and you're just gonna get clobbered unless you can stun them and make a run for it. So it's really good for that. That being said, not sure it's the best fit on our shotgun users, because we might just be looking for something that is more pure damage for them. This would probably be best on Shepard, but it's probably, since it is a shotgun, probably not something we're going to want to do. So, worth considering. Very strong weapon, but maybe not the right fit for us. Some scopes, SMG heatsink, so that, well, you have a chance of not using a thermal clip. SMG high velocity barrel is the one that gives the hybrid of, oh no, it's just the pure piercing for SMGs, which is probably not as relevant for SMGs as it might be for other weapon types, just because of the nature of SMGs being a little less accurate, and this is usually best to do on anti-armor weapons, and SMGs are usually not used against armor, they're usually used against shields and barriers. Assault rifle, ultralight, we're probably not going to use assault rifles, and weapon weight doesn't matter for our teammates, so not a huge deal. Same with sniper rifle ultralight, and shotgun ultralight. So I think we'll pass on those. And then here we have the Crease, which is another gimmicky weapon that also shoots kind of sort of explosive-y stuff. This Turian anti-material rifle is modified to kill Reaper enemies. The Crise's scope uses a rangefinder that adjusts to keep the target in proper proportion to the shooter, which comes in useful when the sniper is forced into close range. Its specialized ammunition is both armor-piercing and explosive. For whatever reason, we just have basically all the explosive weapons are here. There are several of them. I swear, not every weapon is an explosive weapon, but it just so happens that they're right here, right now. Almost all of them. In a desperate move, the Turians released its specifications over the extranet so that nearly anyone with a fabricator could manufacture this weapon to help the war effort. Then we have assault rifle, extended barrel. That is nice, because that is just pure damage for assault rifles. So I do like that a lot. We could consider doing that. Accuracy for assault rifles, for snipers, the just pure damage for snipers. That's good. I mean, surprise, surprise, damage is good. Accuracy for assault rifles, don't think that's all that necessary. This is a combination of base damage and piercing for sniper rifles. So great for just pure damage, but does add the weight, so if it's going on Shepard, then that can slow down your powers a lot. If it's going on a teammate, then it's not a huge deal. So this is really good. It's something we'd probably like to get at some point, but might not be top of our list. After getting the Acolyte and getting the Power Magnifier, I'm feeling much better about our weapon situation, certainly at least for Shepard. So, for that reason, we may just save up our remaining resources. So you set office over here. We may save up our remaining resources for big weapons.
We must find a way to stabilize the heating unit so the water temperature can remain steady. The colony's location is hardly ideal for our species. The clutch will be imperiled if we do not act soon. Of course, I will do everything I can do to help. We are family. The extreme weather conditions may require technology that is not readily available on the
hold on. We got some info here about another side quest. A Solarian on the Citadel needs new heating unit stabilizers. Find them to bring them to him in the Presidium Commons. So, it basically the backstory there being that Solarians, I believe they hatch from eggs, and the temperature of them might dictate whether it is a male or female that hatches out of them, but also just very sensitive to temperature, and so basically he's saying, hey, we need to get that heat stabilizer so we can actually make sure that the people get, the Solarians get born, and that's why it is of critical importance to the family. So that's the idea there. I think that is just about everything in the area that we want to check out. Obviously, it's a ton of stuff. The Citadel is pretty big, at least once you finish Priority Paladin, because that is the thing that unlocks getting the rest of this stuff. That is the Facetin we were looking at before. Right, actually, were we? I don't know if we've seen that one yet. Presumably, the weapon they're showing there on the wall is one that you can actually buy from the neighboring shops. Maybe not.
Please select a destination.
Okay, so the only place we've not yet been would be the bar. So, I suppose we can check that out now.
1 moment, please. Now arriving at Ward's level, Purgatory.
And you can hear that beat.
Can't believe he did that. They were refugees. Damn it, it's not like they had much left to start with.
Lost their homes, their loved ones, and some con artist swindled them out of what little they have left.
Can't believe they won't let us stop the bastard. We still ought to do something about it.
You heard the commander. No proof, no arrest. Guy filed a harassment complaint last time, remember? Gotta watch our backs.
Not much we can do with this new detail anyway.
Hmm.
What are we?
Not sure what to make of that, then.
I know people are complaining. We're doing what we can with what we've got here, but let me finish. Our power grid can only handle so much power before it shuts down, and we can't use the backups. No, the new...
Yeah, that's not really how power grids work. You can't just add power. Okay, but that's another mission here. You know, you gotta get... You're gonna increase power, you gotta increase load. You can't just, like, store power directly on the grid without an actual battery to store it, but the technician at Purgatory on the Citadel needs an improved power grid That's not the way that power grids work. To keep things running. Find schematics for a new power grid. Let's just get a single improved power grid, because that's totally the way it works. Dedication personified. How's it going, Bert? How are you?
Management knows this is important for morale, but we can't go over budget. Look, I'm not touching the backups. Get me a better.
It's kind of a complicated system that has many different components to it, and so to just say that holistically we're just gonna upgrade the entire thing is just kind of silly. Is that Cortez? It looks a lot like Cortez. I don't think it is, though. I mean, like, obviously, upgrading your grid is a thing. It's just that you don't just single-handedly in one fell swoop upgrade an entire grid. It's not a thing. But into the Purgatory Bar we go.
Didn't think I was making it off Benny.
No, neither did I. Neither did I.
They had us. If he hadn't drawn their fire, well, we wouldn't have made it. Nope, not a goddamn chance. I couldn't have done that. What he did.
Okay, apparently he did something really cool.
Hey, you ready to get this party started?
Hey, now you're here.
Hell yeah, I'm here. For the next 48 hours, I'm spending as much time in this bar as humanly possible.
Yeah, we have the same thought. So the bar's over there, and
Hey, is the whole squad here? Hey guys.
yeah, we were going to have a guys' night.
Yeah, sounds like not interested in whatever whatever moves they're trying to put on. Okay. I recognize that person.
When your thugs are here illegally.
Yes, and it only took CSEC 3 weeks to figure it out.
I don't care who you are. You're required to go through processing like all other refugees. Come with me.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Shirk, get me the Asari consular.
Arya, to what do I owe the pleasure?
I'm being asked to submit to immigration processing.
I see. And now you've been processed. Is there anything else?
Nothing. Thank you.
Anytime.
I think we're done here. Enjoy the show, Shepard?
I guess there's one rule on the Citadel, huh?
I guess so. I hate this place. So sickeningly uptight.
Then why are you here?
Cerberus stole Omega from me. The elusive man is now squarely at the top of my shit list.
So this is Arya.
Every second I've spent in this bureaucratic hellhole.
And so this is the person who, to quote her, is Omega, the basically crime world of crime hub of the galaxy. She runs that place. So she's a little far from home here in what is more civilized society. Perhaps that's why she says a little too uptight for her over here. But she did send us an email saying that on one hand, she just kind of seemed to want to catch up with us. On the other hand, she said she has something in particular she wanted to speak with us about. The elusive man, well, Cerberus stole Omega from her. That is her, I mean, basically her kingdom, so to speak. And the elusive man, that means she's not going to be terribly pleased with him right now. So what exactly happened? How did they take Omega from you? How did they take an entire humongous space station from you?
How did Cerberus defeat you?
Deceit, distraction, and a big fucking army. They lured me away from Omega and ambushed me. I escaped, but Cerberus had already laid siege. By the time I could launch an assault, they were too entrenched.
But you are alive, and that's saying something.
At least you escaped to fight another day.
And that day is coming. I'll take Omega back, but I'll get to that. You're here because I have a proposition.
I'm listening.
The way I see it, if you don't defeat the Reapers, we're all dead. Won't matter where I'm sitting. It's in my interest to help you.
Oh.
What are you offering, Arya?
On Omega, I kept the Blood Pack, Blue Suns, and Eclipse in check. Now they're running amok. Nobody wants that. Unite them under my rule, and you'll have a powerful and ruthless force for your war. I've laid the groundwork with all three groups. I just need you to close the deals.
So those were some of the most frequent enemies in Mass Effect 2. The Blood Pack, Blue Suns, and Eclipse. Mercenary groups. I mean, they were all criminals. Again, we kind of found ourselves in a set of circumstances in which we were not thrilled about in Mass Effect 2. We just kind of got thrown into the criminal underworld and didn't have much choice in the matter. But they are kind of scummy. Not sure we really trust them to be fighting as important to fight as fighting the Reapers is. I mean, as we were saying with Ashley earlier, I mean, yes, we could use all the people we can get, but at the same time, we need to trust each other if we are truly going to be risking our lives for one another.
Give a criminal a gun, he'll shoot you in the back.
They already have guns, Shepard. I'll make sure they point them at the Reapers.
Fair enough.
I'm trying to help you. Why don't you think it over? Meet with Gnarl, my agent who's dealing with the Blood Pack. The Blue Suns leader is incognito here on the Citadel. He'll be expecting you. And I already have a deal with Jonas Sedaris, the Eclipse leader. You just have to get your friend, Commander Bailey, to let her out of jail.
You obviously don't know Bailey very well.
Bailey respects you. Lean on him. I think a united force of professional mercs is worth it. Don't you? It's always a pleasure, Shepard. Let me know if you want to talk later.
Okay, so, technically speaking, that was a quest we had. It's one that I think I was saying we kinda wanted to wait a little bit on. Ooh, technically 3 sub-quests, if you will, because this is something that, at least in the original Mass Effect 3, was a DLC, and now in Mass Effect Legendary Edition got rolled up into the base game. But it's something that I think, from a narrative standpoint, just makes more sense to do a little bit later than where we currently are, because we're obviously still very early stages. So Arya T'Loak has requested assistance uniting mercenary bands under her control. Speak to Gnarl in the Presidium Commons and gain the allegiance of the Blood Pack. Then basically going to be similar story for all the various groups. Speak to Darner Vosk in the Citadel refugee camp and gain the allegiance of the Blue Suns. And then for Eclipse, we speak to Commander Bailey in the Citadel embassies and hopefully get him to set the Eclipse leader out from prison, which I'm sure is going to be a wonderful conversation. So I'm just not sure we're necessarily going to look to do those immediately. Also, fun fact, I recently learned that apparently Arya T'Loak's voice actress is the same person who does Trinity in the Matrix series, so little interesting to imagine that. Alright, so that's that side. Over here.
Damn it, morale is pitiful. The troops need something to bring back their fighting spirit. Remember the stories of the 1st Regiment on Castellus? Outnumbered, knowing they would die. But they fought for the Empire. That's the spirit we need if we're going to hold out.
Okay. More side quests in this case. They're saying they need some source of inspiration. So, Apian Crest, Banner of the 1st Regiment, a Turian officer needs the Banner of the 1st Regiment to inspire his troops. Recover it from Castellus in the Apian Crest, and deliver it to him at Purgatory on the Citadel. Did these people, if I could get over these stairs, have anything like that to say to us? I don't think so. I don't think so. Here's James. He's hanging out at the bar, I suppose. Maybe that's not the biggest of surprises.
Hey, Commander. Nice to see you down here in the dirt with us grunts.
You don't think I like getting dirty?
Whoa now, come on. I didn't mean anything by it, Loco.
Uh-huh. What did you mean then?
See those Marines over there? None of them officers, just soldiers fighting the war. Yeah? They've been buying me drinks all night. You know why? Same reason they got all quiet and serious when you walked in.
Just because they respect you? Is that what you see in us?
You don't seem intimidated by me in the least. In fact, you could use a little more deference. Sure, but I've fought with you. I've seen you in action. Now, don't get me wrong, you're good. Probably one of the best. Probably. But I know you're human. Just like me. But not them? Nope. Hell, I still remember the day they made you the first human Spectre. I watched it on the Vids, just like all of them. But to them,
The Vids.
you're still larger than life.
Yeah, it is a little weird having that celebrity status.
I've seen a hell of a lot, but I'm still just a soldier. I'm still one of them. Sure, but they don't know you. They just know what they've been told. Listen, you want them to see you're one of us, right? Maybe. Then buy them around.
Not today. Yeah, maybe. Sure.
I like the way you think, Lieutenant. Compadres, hey! The commander would like you to have a drink. On him. So here's to us. Who's like us?
Renegade interrupt? No, we won't take
And
it.
they're all dead. Sorry, Shep. Thought you'd know that one. Thanks for the warning. Thanks for the drink.
And I don't recall what happens if you do not opt to go the offering a drink route. There's a chance, I mean, given how that was the bottom option, which is usually for Renegade stuff, there's a chance that that gives you Renegade interrupt, and then the top option, even though it just seemed like kind of a mean, I don't want you to have fun option, perhaps that was a little more positive than it seemed from the preview there, and that might have led us to a Paragon interrupt opportunity, in which case we probably would have taken it, but I just don't remember that one specifically, and so I am not sure if we missed out on anything there. Obviously, we deliberately did not go the Renegade route, but, you know, do we miss out on any potential Paragon stuff by not going the no, I will not buy you a drink route? I'm not certain.
I'm just gonna hang here for a while.
Okay, so James will chill there. Then bartenders dancing up here. Okay, sure, it's people in line dancing up here as well. Everybody's dancing up here. Can we get through the other side? Can we dance with the peoples? Usually we can, in some, at least in one spot, at clubs, in at least Mass Effect 2 we could. I would have thought we can in Mass Effect 3 as well, but maybe not here, not now. Seems like that might be everything at the moment, at least, in this area. Of course, got several new quests, and chatted up with some people we know, both Arya and James, of course. I think in that case we'll be headed on our way, unless, did we see if these people had anything of interest? What is this guy doing? Just looks either incredibly sad or incredibly sick, and I'm not entirely sure which. Maybe a little bit of both? Alright, let's head back.
Welcome, Commander Shepard. Please select a destination.
And I think we are now ready to head back to the Normandy. So, we do have a little bit of money remaining, so theoretically, if we wanted to, we could buy more of the weapon upgrades. That is true, but I think at this stage, we've gotten the most important stuff, that being the pistol that we're going to want to use, the Acolyte, and then we're going to try to save up so that we can get the other things, the bigger, more expensive stuffs as soon as possible, which is generally going to be, you know, the types of stuff we're going to use for our squad mates.
One moment, please. Now arriving at docking bay D24.
Okay, so we're at the docking bay, and this is the place where we first showed up when we got to the Citadel. So it should look familiar, but we may see some new people hanging around here, or hear about some quest options that we did not previously know about. Because generally, Palaven is sort of the mission that really opens up the world to you once you complete that, and that's why we're seeing the Citadel giving us all these new places.
Everyone's going through this.
And we heard these two talking last time as well. Yeah, but it doesn't seem like there's anything new here at the moment, so in that case, I think we are ready to head back to the Normandy. Okay, so...
Commander?
Anything new, Trainer? Doesn't seem like it. So, what I'm thinking here is we were talking a little bit about, I mean, there were some quests that we did sort of initiate, at least more so than I would have liked to have initiated in some ways. The ones with Arya, the ones with Kasumi, and, anything else besides that? That might have been it. I mean, other than obviously learning about a bunch of new quests that we have not yet started at all. But what I was thinking we would do is actually go to one of the quests that we got very early on, either Cerberus Lab, which would be a relatively minor side quest, or potentially Eden Prime, which was a DLC in the original Mass Effect 3, but is much like basically every other DLC been rolled up into the base Legendary Edition, and is of more significance than a random side quest. So it'd be a little bit tougher, a little bit more intense. Are we ready for that? We did recently get our throw fully upgraded to double throw, and I think that is one of the things that I wanted to make sure we had the chance to do before we did try on the Eden Prime mission. We do have some points to spare here, in which case we could load up on some additional power damage and or health, which might also not be a terrible idea. So we could go that route. We're pretty close to leveling up, so you could make the case that if we did a little side quest, we might be able to get one more level, get some more points to allocate, and then make Priority Palaven a little bit easier on us. Those are all things to consider. Let's, however, head out from the Citadel. I think we're done here for the time being. And so, once again, as we head out, we'll see there are still Reapers occupying various locations. So the Prothean artifact, that would be Eden Prime right there. And then meeting the diplomats would be the main quest. I don't think we're looking to do that anytime soon. Certainly not after we just got a bazillion side quests. We also can rescue the students at Grissom Academy. That's another thing that we're going to want to do relatively soon. So it looks like perhaps anytime where we see these systems that are sort of flashing like this, that is our indication that, yes, there is something there, like in this case, Cerberus Lab. That's the thing we were talking about before. Whereas if it's not flashing, as is the case with the Shrike Abyssal, then we don't. I think, however, that might only be the case if there is an actual planet that you're looking to land on. However, there are some missions where we might just need to scan a planet, get some information or an item from scanning that planet, and bring it back to an NPC, and that would be sufficient. And those locations, even if they do have quests like that in them, may not be flashing, because I thought I remembered hearing one of those quests saying that they had something based in the Shrike Abyssal, and that is notably not glowing right now. So, okay. I think, tell you what, I think we go straight into it. It's going to be a little bit tough. It's going to be a little bit tough if we do this, because it's, yes, a mission on Eden Prime that is available almost immediately, but for all the missions that are available almost immediately, it is up there in terms of difficulty. But we'll give it a shot. We'll try it out. Okay, so let's see. We are in Utopia, and of course Eden Prime, notably, is the place where we had the very first mission in the entire Mass Effect trilogy. The prologue, or the tutorial of Mass Effect 1 was here. So that's where Jenkins died. We went on that mission with Kaidan, and then we also got Ashley to tag along with us once we rescued her from her, her entire squad went down, and so she joined up with us. But let's take a look around at some of the other stuffs we have in the area. So we have Xanadu. Xanadu's atmosphere is composed of methane and argon, while the planet's frozen surface is largely potassium with deposits of calcium. Its location in the deep cold of the outer system and the lack of valuable resources leave little to recommend it. And yeah, it's quite cold. Quite cold, as it turns out. Then we have Nirvana. Nirvana has a trace atmosphere of xenon and krypton, perhaps lithium as well? Not in the atmosphere, but I mean, there's gotta be lithium all over this place, right? The surface is a mix of water, ice, and iron oxides, with cryovolcanic plumes of potassium concentrated around the equatorial ridge. Nirvana has little of commercial or scientific interest, other than sweet tunes, though a few geological research stations were constructed in the early 2160s, all have been shut down for years. The Alliance maintained an automated ice cracking station, which stockpiled a large amount of deuterium fuel for use, or deuterium, I don't know, by the fleet. It was commandeered in the preparations for the war, and now Nirvana is completely silent. All apologies, Nirvana. This planet is huge. Zion. Zion is a hydrogen-helium gas giant, even larger than Jupiter, yet I believe you. Despite its deep gravity well and lethal radiation, it supports a small helium-3 mining industry. The reason is simple. As the only gas giant in the Utopia system, it is the only local source of fuel for Eden Prime's power stations and spaceports. Zion has 112 natural satellites, ranging from orbiting asteroids to the moon of Asphodel, which is large enough to retain a thick atmosphere. Population 1,062, relatively small, but it exists. And of course, that's population pre-invasion. Then we have Eden Prime. We'll hold off on that just a minute here, because that's, of course, where we're actually going to end up landing. We have Arcadia, which is an unusually large terrestrial world. Arcadia has a dense atmosphere composed of nitrogen and helium. Its scorching hot surface is mainly composed of alkaline basalts, but metal deposits are plentiful. Although several spectacular examples of columnar basalt formation offer scenic beauty, Arcadia's hostile environment has precluded commercial development. It's also 358 degrees Celsius. Okay, so we will of course land on Eden Prime. Let's take a second here to scan the area a bit, because if we do, we can see if we might encounter anything. You'll notice that at least right there, we did not get any additional Reaper attention.
I found something.
And now, we've found something on Zion. Let's check it out. So, we can start our scanner. And now it looks very similar to how things looked in Mass Effect 2, where we, once upon a time, were scanning planets like this all the time to get resources. Not the case this go round, except we do have a specific point of interest here. So let's launch our probe, which in Mass Effect 2 we had a limited number of them and we had to buy more than Mass Effect 3. I believe they are infinite, so no worries there. What'd we get? A war asset. Prothean data files. Okay. So, we got some information that will help make our efforts against the Reapers more effective. We can, of course, read up more about that in the war room, but at least for now, we'll carry on here. And, ooh, notably says 50% assets recovered, which means there's still more here. Somewhere. And fortunately, because we have a mission in this system, we can scan as much as we'd like, and I don't believe we will attract any attention from the Reapers. Meaning that, I mean, we can just be super aggressive with this and... Ooh, track this. What do we have here? Wreckage. The wreckage of a fuel depot destroyed by enemy forces. Fuel can be salvaged from the debris. Recovered for 200 units of fuel. The thing is, we have not yet had to spend any fuel at all. Although I think we just did we automatically get it there? I was gonna say, we're on full fuel right now, so I mean, if we did just automatically recover it, which I think we did because we're now at 100% assets recovered, it functionally did not do us any good. So be it. Now, of course, though, we have Eden Prime. So, this idyllic agrarian world was one of the first human colonies established beyond the Charon mass relay. Eden Prime's fertile biosphere drew heavy immigration from the Systems Alliance and other human organizations. In 2183, Eden Prime, that's the year of Mass Effect 1, I believe, Eden Prime was attacked by a Geth force led by the rogue Spectre Saren Arturius, which is, of course, how Mass Effect 1 began. Commander Shepard, responding to the attack, encountered a Prothean beacon that warned of imminent Reaper invasion, except nobody listened to us. It is thanks to this beacon and the Commander's quick action that the galaxy has any chance of survival today. I mean, kinda, sorta. Yes, but also no. Although like, if you had actually listened to us, we probably would be faring much better right now, but although the Reapers rushed past much of the Exodus cluster in their plan to take Earth, it is clear the war has come to Eden Prime. Distress signals have jammed all available frequencies, fires burn in the vast swaths across the arable land, and its once extensive monorail system is twisted metal. Cerberus has much to lose if word of their ruthless attack on the human colony gets out. What they stand to gain must be equally valuable. So yeah, this was a human colony with 4.2 million people. That's pretty significant, and was a colony of particular note, particular interest, because it was so early. And yet, Cerberus, despite being a pro-human organization, has found the nerve to attack it. So they must have good reason. And just for comparison's sake here, atmosphere a little bit thicker than that of Earth. 23 degrees Celsius, though, and 1.04 Gs of gravity. It's pretty Earth-like in that sense. Before we land here, let's just remind ourselves of what the deal is with this mission. What are we dealing with? What are we dealing with here? So this one is Priority Eden Prime. Cerberus has discovered a Prothean artifact on Eden Prime. Land on the planet to recover the artifact. I mean, generally speaking, Prothean artifacts have been a pretty huge deal. So that does sound quite important. So let's do it. Let's do it. And notably, now we have a larger squad to choose from. We still have Liara, we still have James. We actually are required to bring Liara here, as we saw in several missions in Mass Effect 1, or rather in Mass Effect 2, we had specific squad mates that we had to choose. For example, on loyalty missions, you had to bring the person whose loyalty mission you were doing, not so surprisingly. So Liara, for reasons we will see later, does have reason to absolutely be on this mission, so she's required. Other than that, though, we still have James, who of course we started off with, along with Liara. We recently acquired Garrus on Palvin, and then, of course, we also very recently have gotten Edie. And so, Garrus we got the chance to use a little bit on the latter half of the Palvin mission. Edie remains untested at this point. However, there's, as I said, this is going to be a pretty difficult mission for us since we are doing it on the early side. So, for those reasons, Edie and Garrus are probably the most logical choices to bring along with Liara for this mission. However, there is specific it's quite minor, to be honest with you, but there's some dialogue that James has here that I do really like, and I did this on my first Mass Effect 3 playthrough. I remember I did this mission very early, brought James with Liara, and that dialogue alone, small as it may have been, just kind of left a good impression for me of James, when there have been people in the past who have been somewhat critical of James, but I thought that it just stood out to me as something that made James seem like a a much more interesting character. So let's take him. It's going to be a little bit tougher if we do it, but we'll see if we can make it work. Okay, so for us, we have a new pistol, and it is the pistol that we would like to be using long term. So there you see the weight is almost identical to that of the Predator, and so we'll still be on our full recharge speed. That's great. The capacity is lower. I mean, the Acolyte is, rather than being a relatively quick-firing weapon like the Predator, it's a very slow charge up, shoot at once type of thing. And so lower capacity shouldn't be a huge deal. Rate of fire, we can preemptively load it, so that's going to be useful. Damage is going to be much, much higher than with the Predator, though, particularly against shields and barriers, which otherwise would be one of our greatest weaknesses. The accuracy number there, or the value there, is a little tough to say because, as I was describing when we purchased the Acolyte, when you shoot with it, it kind of lobs out a projectile, kind of like a grenade or a flare, and if you can sort of anticipate the way that that trajectory is going to fly out, then you know, you can aim it more effectively that way. Because it does have an AoE, it's a little bit forgiving. It can also, I should mention, I forgot to mention this, it can bounce off walls and a little bit even off the ground, and so it can be a little unpredictable at times for that, and so it does take a little bit of practice, but it is a weapon that I use all the time in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, so I'm excited to use it here. And we did make a point of picking up some mods that we think could be useful. The piercing mod does nothing on this weapon, or at least does not allow you to actually pierce, because it's a projectile-based weapon. It's like a little, almost like electric grenade launcher, and the electric grenades cannot pierce through cover no matter what. But we did pick up the power magnifier. That's nice, because that's 10% increased power damage, and that is, of course, one of our keys to success is actually doing damage with powers rather than being an all-out weapons damage person. Then, I mean, we might as well increase the magazine size because we can. And then, hold on, keep you there. And then we can still have the Shuriken as our secondary weapon and maintain that 200% recharge speed, which is the maximum. So, I guess, why not? It is kind of nice because the Acolyte, since it has that slow charge-up time, if we do get rushed down by an enemy, Shuriken is probably preferable to hit people at close range before they actually can melee us. Then if we're talking Liara, honestly, probably worth doing the same thing with her. Obviously, the power damage also quite relevant for her. She's also a very biotics-heavy character. Weapon damage not as important for her, but as biotic, once again, getting rid of shields is one of the top priorities, so that makes sense. So let's stick with that. And then the Shuriken for her, I mean, again, I think those are our only 2 mods. Yeah, so that's pretty much as good as it's going to get on the SMG side. Then for, lock that in. For James, we haven't done too much to change things up here. We can get the assault rifle magazine upgrade, though, for the Vindicator, so that's something. It may not be a huge deal for him, but okay, Vindicators, at least it's not the Avenger. Then the Katana, we could switch over to the Scimitar. We picked this up on Paladin as well, and although it's not the starting shotgun, it's still pretty darn weak, because as you see there, the damage goes way down. The rate of fire is technically higher. It is one of the faster shooting shotguns, at least of the relatively traditional shotguns. So it has that going for it, but in terms of pure DPS, not great. So I think we're just going to stick with the Katana here, and we would like to get a new and improved shotgun probably. Now that we have all those options at the Citadel shops that have become available to us, we might pick one of those up there. But I think that means we are now good here. In terms of abilities, let's hold off on Shepard for a second here. Let's instead focus on Liara and on James. So for Liara, I think that she could very well have benefited from taking a little more time to improve, to level up and get more skill points here, because we'd love if we could just get a little bit more damage on her biotic combos with the Warp plus Singularity, or even Warp plus Stasis. It just hasn't quite been enough to take out, say, assault troopers in one explosion. But if we improve the damage here, that could change, and Expose does debuff targets as well, which is nice. We do have enough points for that, so that's an option. Alternatively, Stasis may be something of some significance. How important is Stasis going to be in this mission? What do we prefer? Do we want to upgrade Stasis and increase the duration, or do we want to just go pure damage with Warp? If we do Warp, we'll have 2 points remaining. It's not really going to be significant. We could put points into Warp ammo, but we already have the Incendiary ammo from James, and that's set for squad ammo, so everyone will have Incendiary ammo. Yeah, I think we just take the Warp Expose, though. And then, if we do get a level partway through the mission, which we probably will, then Stasis level 3 should become an option. So that's for Liara. For James, we've 4 points left here, which means not quite enough for Arms Master. I think we were starting to work our way through his fortification upgrades. We didn't love the short-term ones because melee damage, that's not really what we're trying to focus on, but we do need to get through the rank 2 and rank 3 melee damage ones before we can get to things like durability for additional damage reduction, which we would really like, rather than, you know, going all-out melee damage. But yeah, so I think it's kind of just a necessary evil for him. Is that something that we short-term feel inclined to do, or do we want to do something short-term that is a little more immediately impactful? Because, as we were saying, this is going to be a little bit of a tricky mission. Do something like, say, Frag Grenade, and just increase the damage, or Carnage is not really an ability that I'm thinking we're going to use all that often, but oh boy, that recharge speed is slow. 20 seconds, and bear in mind, when James has Fortification on, it slows power use by 50%. So that means he is not using that Carnage very often. We can make it happen a little bit more often if we take this upgrade here, but even that's not saying much. So, I mean, Carnage is, I think, the ability that we are going to upgrade the least for James, because he's, for the most part, going to be another person focusing on the weapon's damage rather than power damage. But, I mean, if we do this, and if we're expecting to level up relatively soon, we may get enough points for durability when that happens, or we might fall one short. I'm not entirely sure. I can do it, though. I think I would very much like to get durability here, and shield recharge rate is great defensively, and those are really the big ones that we want to pick up. So then that leaves us with Shepard, and for Shepard, I wanted to make sure we had Singularity, Throw, and Warp all fully upgraded, and at least have 1 point in Pull. Other than that, though, a little bit of room for flexibility here. Let's see, further upgrades on Pull. The recharge speed, I mean, changing it from 1.33 to 1.23, I don't think that's going to make a big difference. I think that is going to be almost completely unnoticeable. Increase the duration slightly. I mean, this is mostly here just to get rid of Guardians that have shields. So the duration doesn't really matter much. It's just the ability to use it and use it quickly. So then I think that might mean we're either upgrading cluster grenades or passives for additional biotic power damage and reputation bonus, or defenses in this case. I think we, as much as I would kind of like to do the cluster grenades for the offense, we might need the defense in this case. We might need a bit of that. We can afford what? So you should be able to afford 3. The third one's going to be melee damage, so what if we do this for a little bit more additional healths and a little bit more additional healths? Yeah, well, we were before we made that upgrade, but it's better. Then with our 3 points here, we could either, as I was saying, go for rank 3 in fitness, and it's just going to be melee damage, which is not really all that helpful for us. I mean, worst comes to worst, occasionally we might punch people in the face, but it's not really something we're going to try to make a point of doing. Or we could go level 1 and level 2 here and get a little bit of power damage and the reputation bonus and weight capacity bonus. Weight capacity bonus means we can more easily carry heavier weapons, so it means we can generally carry bigger and better weapons. It's not super relevant to us right now because we are just carrying 2 of the lightest weapons in the game, but long term might become a factor. So, I mean, at least this one is useful to us. This one, less so, but gets us closer to power damage after that. So maybe we just take this first biotic mastery point, and we'll leave 2 points unspent here, and then, assuming we level up fairly quickly, we might have some more options available to us in the near future. So I think that's what we want.